Okay, hockey season starts in 8 minutes. So by the time I upload this, it'll probably be what's the earlier game? I don't remember, but I know Seattle Vegas play later tonight. So what better way to celebrate that hockey season is back than talking about my predictions for the NHL in general, all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals from the start of the season. And yeah, I think this will be an exciting season. A lot of roster moves. I haven't been happy with all the moves my favorite team, the Hurricanes, have made, but it is hockey. It's back. It's you can't ask for much more than that. And I still think Carolina's going to do pretty good. So let's just jump into it. So I'll just go through last place in every division. I have San Jose, Arizona, Buffalo, because of course Buffalo is going to be in last place. Columbus, which has kind of fallen apart at the seams as we know it. And then in second to last place for each division, Anaheim, St. Louis. St. Louis was in a strong division. I think St. Louis actually enters the playoff race, is actually in the playoff race for a lot, but their division's pretty good. So Detroit and the New York Rangers. So we have those teams, and then in the third to last in every division and sixth, you have Calgary, Dallas, Ottawa, and the Devils. I think the Devils, with the addition of Dougie Hamilton, do go up in the standings a little bit. Yeah, you guys can thank me later. I figured I'd get my dog Harley in frame for the first time. So, yeah, there's another one around here, but maybe that'll be the end of the video. So, and then so then there's that, and then the two teams that'll be in each wild card race, a potential wild card spot: Vancouver and LA for the Pacific, Nashville and Chicago for the No, wait. No. Did I do this wrong? No, I had it right. Okay, so Nashville and Chicago for the Central, Florida and Montreal for the Atlantic, and then Pittsburgh and Philadelphia for the Metro. Like, those are the four wildcard teams. And then in the number 3 seed, Seattle, Minnesota, Boston, and the Islanders. And then we have the number 2 seed for each division: Edmonton for the Pacific, Winnipeg for the Central, Toronto for the Atlantic, and Washington for the Metropolitan. And then we have the division winners of each division: Vegas, Colorado, Tampa Bay, and Carolina. I will say Carolina, Washington, and the Islanders, I think it's going to be really close. I think the Metro and the Central especially are the closest. I think the Metro is like a little bit more smudged together, but I think once you get past Colorado, from Winnipeg to Dallas in the Central, that'll be close. The Pacific is easy because that division is terrible. And then the Atlantic, I think, is relatively easy, but there are some teams that I think will surprise us, except for Buffalo, because their fan base and their team is in an eternal pain. So then it comes to the playoff seeding. So I have Tampa Bay finishing, first in the division, or first in the conference, and then I have Vegas finishing first in the conference as well. So, and then the President's Trophy, I think Tampa Bay actually takes the President's this year. I know they've lost a couple guys, but, they're the defending Stanley Cup champions. I got to bet on them. So, just, be ready for that. Now, here we go for the playoffs. So, for the wild cards on each team, you have between Vancouver, LA, Nashville, Chicago. The Pacific Division, to me, was crap. And I think Vancouver, of anyone, could sneak into the wild card. I don't see LA sneaking in. and I didn't see Calgary really being in that race. But I think the Central is really where the wild card battle is going to be. I think Nashville, Chicago, Dallas, and St. Louis, any of those four teams are wild card teams. Minnesota could actually miss the playoffs for me, in my opinion, this year. But I think Minnesota does end up making it. I think they're looking the best out of all five of those teams. So that's why I have Minnesota at third. But yeah, like for me, the real wild card race is in the Central this year. So between Nashville and Chicago, they're in the playoffs. Now in the East, I think it's a five-team race out of like if the season goes the way I think it'll go. I mean, really, it's just the Metro and then Florida in the playoff race. So, but in this case, it comes down to Philly, Pittsburgh, and Florida and Montreal. I don't think Montreal makes the playoffs this year. Maybe I'm salty because they're having a pettiness rivalry between the Canes now with the offer sheets and the hey, the Canes only played 4 preseason games. You know, I can't wait to watch the Canes play the Habs this year. It'll be a lot of fun. And, you know, I hope this Twitter rivalry, which unfortunately that's all it is, turns into an actual rivalry between the teams. But we'll have to wait and see for this season to start. So, but yeah, I don't think Montreal makes it. I think Pittsburgh makes it. I don't think Crosby misses the playoffs yet. I think we're getting close. I can't wait to see Crosby miss the playoffs. Not because of him, but because he plays for Pittsburgh, because fuck Pittsburgh. So, yeah, Philadelphia or Florida for the playoff spot. I got to give it to the Florida Panthers. I think the Florida is trending upwards, but yeah, and I don't think they miss the playoffs again this year. I think they make it. I think they continue to make the playoffs. And yeah, all right. So first round, I have Vegas against Chicago, Edmonton against Seattle, Colorado versus Nashville, Winnipeg versus Minnesota, Carolina versus Florida, Islanders versus Washington, Tampa Bay versus Pittsburgh, and Toronto versus Boston. So Vegas versus Minnesota, or not Minnesota, sorry, Chicago. I don't know what I'm thinking. I think Vegas, of course, wins that one. Edmonton against Seattle, I think Edmonton wins, which I think is a successful showing for Seattle in their inaugural season. I don't think they're as good as Vegas was. However, that being said, I do think they make the playoffs in part because their division is bad. I mean, they're probably going to be racing Vancouver and Edmonton. I think, but yeah, I don't think Vancouver's like, yeah, I think those three teams, if there's any division I'm confident in my picks, it's the Pacific. But I think Seattle's going to have a successful, not on the same level as Vegas, inaugural season. Colorado versus Nashville. I have Colorado winning because, you know, of course. And then Winnipeg versus Minnesota. I have Minnesota upsetting Winnipeg. I don't know why. My gut tells me that that's just what's going to happen. Carolina versus Florida. I have Carolina defeating Florida. I think Florida will win a playoff series next year. I just think they're going to have to get the higher seed. I think, you know, next year it's too far off to predict. But I think next year Boston's going to drop out. And I think Florida's going to drop in. And I think they're going to be able to start winning some playoff series when they start getting out of the wild card race and into divisional title races. So, but for right now, I think they come up short in the first round to Carolina. Washington versus the Islanders. I have the Islanders winning. I think the Islanders are a playoff team, which is why I didn't have them win the Metro this year. I think they're a team that's going to be more successful in the playoffs than the regular season. So then we have Tampa Bay versus Pittsburgh. And for first round, I have Tampa Bay defeating Pittsburgh, which, you know, I'm going to be happy about, even though Tampa Bay is starting to drop into my hate category. I may do my favorite teams 32-1, but not right now. But Tampa Bay, they've dropped quite a bit on that list, especially with their roasting my Hurricanes annoyingly. And then Toronto versus Boston. I don't know why I'm doing this, but I think this is the year Toronto beats Boston. Something tells me this is the year they end up overcoming Boston, and this will be like winning the Stanley Cup for Leafs fans at this point. Vegas versus Edmonton. Here's where the upset comes in. I think a hungry McDavid and Draisaitl are gonna do things this year. So I have Connor McDavid and the Edmonton Oilers. With that hungriness they have, I think getting embarrassed might end up being a blessing in disguise for him, depending on how this year goes. And I think McDavid and the Oilers overcome Vegas. And maybe it's because I cheer for Edmonton. I don't cheer for Vegas, but yeah, I think Edmonton defeats Vegas. Colorado versus Minnesota. I have Colorado winning. Again, I think Nathan McKinnon also has that hungriness. I think the West is kind of. I know McKinnon's not that young anymore, but yeah, I think this is the year some of those younger players that haven't yet accomplished anything start to do things in the West. So there's that. Next up, Carolina versus the Islanders. This one killed me. I do know a couple Islanders fans, so we'll be happy with this pick, but I actually think the Islanders are going to go to the conference finals again. I hated doing this, but the Islanders are a playoff team. I think they've gotten a lot better since the Canes swept them. They have something there with the Islanders that I think the Islanders are a strong contender. And Tampa Bay and Toronto, I have Toronto winning a playoff series. I don't have them overcoming last year's Cup champions. I have Tampa Bay eliminating Toronto in the semifinals to face the Islanders in the conference finals. Now, between the final four of Edmonton and Colorado, I think Colorado has a deeper and better team still. I think McKinnon is almost as good as McDavid. So, just star power, I think, overcomes Vegas, but I don't think it overcomes Nathan McKinnon because McKinnon is almost good. And Colorado just has a deep team. And they got the star power, they got everything. So I have Colorado eliminating Edmonton. And then Tampa Bay versus the Islanders. I think this year is the year the Islanders overcome Tampa Bay. I think they're due for a conference final win or a Final Four win just because of the pandemic stuff. So I actually have the Islanders overcoming Tampa Bay. And then between Colorado and the Islanders, who wins? This is tough, but I think Colorado. This is Colorado's year. I thought it last year, and I'm going to go with it again this year. I think Colorado wins the Stanley Cup. McKinnon, to quote him, says he hadn't won shit at the end of the season, but I think this is the year he finally quote unquote wins shit. And I think he probably wins the gold medal for Team Canada. So I think it's going to be a good year for Nathan McKinnon. They kept Landeskog, they have Makar, they have Miko. Like, they just have so much talent on that team that I do think ultimately Colorado and the Islanders. I think Colorado overcomes the Islanders in the Stanley Cup final in what'll probably be a pretty fun series. So that's it for this video. Hopefully I don't have to split it up into two parts because I went about 10 minutes. Hopefully it's 15 minutes. But if you guys like the content I'm producing on the channel, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Click the bell if you want to get notified when I upload, especially for the Hurricanes games, because that's what I do for the most part is I review Hurricanes games. And I'll see you guys, for hockey. Hockey's back, baby. Let's fucking go. All right. See you guys.